It's public Richmond out there, beautiful for years to come. Emphasize farmers. It's not easy working with families, but with Cambridge, we need to make your outdoor dreams come true.
There we go. All right, it's 9 a.m. Let's get going. Welcome everybody to the May 2025 meeting of EGPOA's Board of Directors. It's been a while since we've had any of our elected officials in to join us, but Bill Reber, Town of Thompson Supervisor, has kindly agreed to spend some time with us this beautiful Sunday morning to give us an update. Bill was here, I think, about last May as well.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep doing this on a May basis.
Works for me.
Despite the allergies and stuff that he's going through. So we'll turn it over to Supervisor Reber.
Okay, so I'm going to refer to notes so I don't forget anything. First thing I'll talk about is the lighting district, which has been kind of a disappointing project. I think the end result is going to be good. It was a state-sponsored project and they took the lead on it. We just switched vendors to do routine and, and non-routine maintenance on the entire district throughout the town. They should be taking over probably in a week. North Emerald Drive, which has been a persistent problem for lighting in the district, is going to be, we're going to have to replace that entire line. So we're just going to bite the bullet and dig it up and do it and get those lights back and run. Years ago, when they put them in, the lines were close to the surface and with frost heaval, upheaval and rocks and everything else, the lines just fell apart, to be quite honest with you. Deerfield Court was an area where they had no lights. That's gonna be part of the non-routine maintenance project that this new company will be responsible for. So hopefully get a lot of this up and running by before summer starts, so people can enjoy walking around. Sewer projects, which seems like I've been talking about it for the last 12 years. I'm closing on the last bit of financing for the plant upgrade on the 29th. We closed on the financing for the pump station 1, 2, and 3 project. So the plant upgrade should be going out to bid sometime in the latter part of this year. Hopefully they can mobilize and get some of the work started on that. The pump station 1, 2, and 3 project, which covers basically about 60% of the flow from the Emerald Green and Lake Louise Marie Sewer District. It's on the east end of the development. That'll replace and upgrade pumps from that entire side and then bring the sewage up. We've always had a problem by Crescent Circle where we get sewer overflows and during times of maximum flow. And that should cure that because we're going to actually bypass that development with the forced main and just resize the pump station in Crescent Circle so that that shouldn't happen again. With today's weather patterns, you never know what's going to happen. But that project also should be going to bid and hopefully done most likely by next spring. But it's financed. I had a lot of concerns because we had a lot of federal money. I secured probably $20 million in bipartisan infrastructure money to scare to death if they pull it. They haven't. It looks like we're locked in, and you don't have to pay for that part of it anyway. So that's that. We've stopped. You might be aware, building permits were under order from the health department not to issue any new building permits in the anywhere in the district served by the Emerald Green Water Company. When the water company gets to the point where the health department releases it and authorizes us to release permits, we will. We had a lot of pressure from some developers who want to put houses in. I'm empathetic, but I'm not going to violate the order of the state health department. They're insistent on it. You've got to upgrade it. You've got to get a tank in and do some improvements to that plant before before everything falls apart. The other thing, in connection with, utilities, underground utilities, is our plant is becoming, with these high rain events, we've been overwhelmed with flows in the Emerald sewer plant. We're gonna actually, we have a new, camera device, which was pretty expensive, but basically we can run a camera up a line and where we can do about 20 times the work with this device, $50,000 camera. We put it in, scope it out, take very clear pictures of where flows are coming from. We're gonna be looking for, not to find people, but we're trying to identify areas where people are tied into the sewer line with their sump pumps. And we'll politely ask everybody to disconnect and reroute the water and get it out of the sewer system.
Could you explain that?
Well, a lot of people who have water coming in their basement pump the groundwater into the sewer system. And I mean, the flows just from one sump pump could equal the flows from 10 or 15 houses a day. So we have a plant that's rated at, let's say, 420,000 gallons a day. I don't know the exact flows off the top of my hand, but we could run 1 million gallons through it easily in a high flow event with a lot of rain. You instantly see the result of sump pumps on the.
Okay, my name is Rich Brown, I'm police since
Yeah.
1987, we've met.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not talking about the sewer ejectors that pump sewage from houses that were built?
No, just sump pumps.
Just clarifying. Yeah.
Look, it's an easy way to get rid of the water in your
Right.
in your basement. It's gotta stop. It really has to, we couldn't pay enough money to upgrade the plant to handle the flows that come in. And you wouldn't wanna pay for it, but if we got under an order from the feds or the state to do so because of 5 flows, the pain is gonna be unbearable. So it's a very simple solution.
How do you police that?
We can run smoke, we can identify with cameras, basically, where the flows are coming from. So if you have crystal clear water running out of a lateral that should be flushing a toilet,
Right.
you know where the water's going. It's either that or it's a leak in a lateral line.
Or you put a meter in.
Yeah, but I don't wanna be the police agent for this, but it's a message that has to be.
Yep.
So, it's a perennial problem, every town has to deal with the cost of sewer today, it's just, to build a sewer plant, you're looking at probably $50-60 a gallon.
So can we help get that message out too?
It wouldn't hurt, I could probably do a little press release at some point in time, I'll get that too.
Are there any plans to put lighting on Old Socket?
Well, I just got a request from somebody on Old Sacket, I generally defer to the HOA, literally just got it last week.
That wasn't it. I'm just saying.
No, it wasn't, it's 390 something Old Sacket Road, it might be out of the development. One, I don't know if we're allowed to run lights on those poles that are there. That might be a public service commission issue, I don't want to anticipate problems, but I know the line, because I developed all the lots on the other side of the street years ago. And probably something we'd like to do, I don't think I would implement that until we get this LED project up, running and stable, because it's been very, very difficult to get this project done.
Well, thank you for the LED project. Thank you for the LED project, because I used to walk my dog a lot, and I really appreciated the light. That's that, and two, I had a request for a homeowner that lives over by our pool. If we wanted to try and get that area by the pool, speed limit reduced, how do you go? Do we do that through the town? Do we do that?
You send a request to the town, but it pretty much, you probably wouldn't get it. You do pretty well with the signboards and stuff on the side of the road. We don't do the sign bumps, or speed
Yeah,
bumps.
speed bumps, I know.
Yeah, we just don't do them.
Okay.
I don't think they're allowed, and it's just our policy not to do them.
No, I understand. But you don't think we would get it, so. it should move.
More than likely, the state actually makes the determination on speed limits, and typically in a rural road like that, they're gonna say it's a self-regulating road, put up more signs. That's what they're gonna say.
Okay.
You wanna try it, we can send it through, but it's a pain complete.
Did you, we interrupted you with questions, did you have other points to get through or?
I do.
Okay.
That's okay. Okay, teams. Let's see. Parks are a big initiative in our town. I know you have a lot of amenities here, but we own the old camp, St. Vincent de Paul, or Camp Jeanette on Adams Road. We just open bathrooms in there so that people can actually go in there and use it and walk. It's a nice place to hike, throw a fishing rod, and, do a lot of things that you enjoy here that other people don't have amenities.
You can vote on that weekend or not yet?
Now, we're gonna keep it passive right now, crawl before we walk, basically, you wanna walk up to the edge of the pond and throw a line in, that's fine. The bathrooms are there, so that's number one. So we got a good grant for that, and, it did cost the town some money, but I think not really a lot. It's amazing how much that stuff costs, so it's ridiculous. It is what it is. I think I've covered, there was one other thing. One thing that touches us every day, so I had a conversation with Hayden Carnell, we're doing a lot of work in the development. A lot of it reflects, first, we did a lot of drainage work this spring, which you might have noticed. Well, there's a lot of spots, where ditches have to be cleaned out. Drainage easements going down to the lake and stuff to get water out from under the roads, we're cleaning those out. We're gonna wrap that up now. We'll start paving tomorrow, weather permitting. We're sealing some roads, paving Avon, paving Chester, Piccadilly, micro sealing Rock Hill Drive, which everybody uses. And we're adding striping to Wolf Lake Road since the county we contract with the county to do that. And they couldn't get it done last year because of weather. So that'll be done starting this week. So a lot of improvements, a lot of investment. And there was a question about that.
Yes, I apologize, I walked in a couple of minutes late, and just as I walked in, you mentioned Deerfield Court.
Yeah.
I'm on Deerfield.
Yeah.
What were you saying about the lighting?
We just-
We're waiting 2 years for lights.
Well, no, you're not. You're waiting about 15 years. So, and the thing with Deerfield, when we started the project, we're all sitting looking at maps up in the town hall. Halfway through, we realized, wait, where's the lights on Deerfield? There aren't any. We didn't know this, it's kind
The
of,
poles are there now.
I know. So what we did is, we just switched, it was a state-run project. We had their maintenance people handling finishing all the installations and non-routine and routine maintenance. We basically replaced them with a local company so we have more support. We were getting about 2 days a month out of the state vendors. So we just, I'll be signing a contract this week with Wire Pro, which is local, and that Deerfield and North Alamo Drive is, and some other work. We're gonna replace all the nodes on the poles so that we have better communication.
Coming around the corner as you turn onto Lakeshore West. That's pitch black, and the kids stand there in the winter waiting for the bus to come, and it's so dark.
If, we're gonna finish what we have in the works right now. If there's something that's missed and the HOA wants to, and I want it all routed through the HOA, because I don't like people, I really can't deal with people freelancing, oh, I need a light here, run it through the HOA, and, if the communities, it's, because you're paying for it.
We are, and
Yeah.
we've made a number of calls, and nothing has changed, so
Uh,
hopefully. it will-
Okay, so you missed the part about me being very, very frustrated about this project.
Yes.
Right from day one, we had a lot of promises from New York State Power Authority. It was exceedingly frustrating, exceedingly time consuming. The end result is gonna be good. The lighting is much better. It's cheaper. We're already seeing the road results in the power bills. And nobody's more frustrated than I, because trust me, we don't want the phone calls. And we don't avoid them. But there's only so much we can do.
But for,
You'll see good results coming.
I'm praying is this summer.
I'm not gonna promise you anything, but probably.
and for
I'll promise you probably.
for additional lighting or any software you think that aren't currently in the pipeline, so to speak, please email Nick in our management office, and we'll make sure we get that routed to the town.
And we're not gonna address that until everything's up to stuff, and then new additions are gonna be new additions.
Great. Leslie, I see your hand up. Hang on one second. We have Mr. Tucker in the room. Go ahead.
Am I allowed to ask?
No, why would you be allowed to ask anybody? Please, come on in.
I'm so happy you're here today, as old timers
Yeah.
especially. 5 years ago, we spoke in the town hall. And the situation at my home on Piccadilly Court, which I heard you say Piccadilly is gonna be
Microphones or something, yes.
something there.
Yeah.
Well, my basement still gets flooded. Last week I had to break out a raft from all the rain. Because
What's your address, Alan?
13 Piccadilly
Okay.
Court.
Yeah.
Listen, you're the reason for all my problems, lady. I'm just joking. She's my wonderful neighbor.
I was gonna say, I don't wanna get involved with this.
She's a sweetheart. But
13 Alan.
when they built her house,
Yeah,
somehow the people who put in the water and sewerage dug the wrong locations. So we had 2 6, 7 foot deep ditches that weren't attached to anything. They found out, they came back,
who's that?
I don't know, it was a builder.
Oh, okay.
But the problem was, they came back, they dug the new trenches, then they finally covered everything up. And we have canyons on Piccadilly Court. I have made the attempt, as you can well remember, with our superintendent of highways, who doesn't know where Piccadilly Circular Court is located.
Your opinion. Okay.
Uh,
We have one highway superintendent.
But even the kids trying to ride their tricycles get stuck in it, and we have to call a tow truck to get them out. That's a joke.
Is it? Cause I was writing.
It's very bad.
It's like a big swale right in front of his.
All right, so first of all, you should all know, Richard Benjamin, our longtime highway superintendent, has retired. Hayden Carnell, he's got a tremendous engineering background, he's taken over, he's appointed to the position. Obviously running for election this year, but he smiles, I talk to him.
As long as
I'll probably have
someone
Richard.
looks at it,
I still have your number.
I'd be thrilled.
Yourself.
I paved my driveway after 38 years. The water comes in more, whatever. I'd like to thank the board for my 20-year quest to have the superway blocked off with that, what would you call that? The mound of dirt.
The berm was
The berm, thank you very kindly. And that didn't work. The four-wheelers love it even more. Now we put the fence up. I am thrilled. And what a stunning fence you people did. Great. Guess what? We should have gone with my plan to use landmines because they're back on the golf course.
I stopped a couple of motorcycle owners the other day and told them they're not allowed to be there, but then even yesterday, there was a big white ATV.
And not a criticism, but did you report that to the,
No, there were a couple of
Main
kids and they stopped when I yelled and I explained to them that it was private property and they weren't allowed and they left.
okay, we do have trail cameras that are up there, but obviously we don't have somebody sitting there monitoring them all the time. But if you can report those incidents so we can go back, look at the footage and then figure out if we can stem that.
Okay. My last,
We'll get one.
yeah, I'll tell you.
Spit it
The,
out.
the water issue, which I went over with the wonderful water department people here at Emerald Bridge Water Company. I've never had great water. I'm the last house on the line on the highest section.
Right.
And I'll use the same joke in case no one was here. My cardiologist gave me 12 months to live. We're not gonna have water pressure until we get the $1 million and this and that and the other thing. I want a rebate for the last 10 years on my water bill. Cause I keep buying Poland Spring 3-gallon containers and pouring it over my head to shower.
Alan, it's good for your heart. It's part of it.
You're lucky I love the family, I swear. I don't know what to ask for about the water.
Don't ask me.
We're on it.
We do have a district. We were actually gonna take that water district over years ago, and the district's still there. So anytime we're gonna turn the keys over.
Do we have an extra pump or tank?
No, we don't.
Mike Hoyt was looking for a place to put the water tank 3 years ago for me.
Sounds like Bill might have some pumps for you.
Yeah.
We'll have an update.
I'm gonna redirect my sump pump to the shower. Great idea.
We'll have an update on that, in a little bit for you.
I think you people are all doing a wonderful
Thank you.
job.
Thank you.
That shows you how I've mellowed. I really appreciate what
Thank
you do.
Thank you, Alan, thank you. Pleasure, it's nice to have you. Okay.
Leslie, question for Supervisor Weaver, please?
Okay, I may be late to the party here, but I wanted to ask Bill about, are we, with regards to the pipes for the sewer, are we talking only about Emerald Green and Lake Louise Marie?
What about pipes?
The issues that you said mentioned that you were having with the sewer and looking for financing, is that only for Emerald Green and Lake Louise Marie?
Pump station.
He's talking about this district specifically.
The entire district, but we're closing on the financing, so we're ready to proceed.
Okay, I know that the sewer district consolidated a few years ago.
Correct.
One, can you remind us which were those? And then secondly, can you translate whatever may be the financing amount? How would that translate to the users in that district?
In the consolidated district, you're gonna see an increase, but probably not substantially. And I really can't address that until we get bids in on the construction projects when we go out to bid. I have estimates and stuff, and they've been published, and I don't have them at the top, off the top of my head, but you're not gonna see a significant. Years ago, before we consolidated, your household rates for sewer were in the right under maybe $850 a year. I think right now you're about $650. Does that sound right? Yeah, about
Yeah.
$650. So the consolidation actually did a lot of good things, as far as evening the playing field on rates. A lot of that, to be honest with you, is anticipating the fact that we were under mandate to do a considerable, many millions of dollars of work in this district. And that will mitigate the cost to the actual individual homeowners. I'm hoping, and I don't like to throw numbers, because in this business, you really can't, bids are bids, and when they come, they come. But I would hope that they would be certainly not in excess of what they were before the consolidation came, probably. The other thing is, I did secure a ton of outright grant money. The pump station project on the other east end of the development, we've got full 25% grants, outright grants on that, so the rest of it would be financed, most all of it at 0% over 30 years. So the impact is going to be softened, but it's going to cost money. There's no question about it.
Can you remind me again, and for the community, what were those districts that consolidated? So
Rock Hill and Emerald Green. So,
Oh.
Rock Hill's not a big district, it's a tiny little district. The business, the trading post is and stuff. And so that was just we did our consolidation. We took, I think, 9 separate sewer districts and consolidated them down to 5 or 6, something in the neighborhood. Essentially, we consolidated districts that were based on where the sewage was processed. So if Emerald Green Sewer Plant was processing the Rock Hill Business District sewer, we just consolidated. So if you have a house in Emerald Green and you have a house in the Rock Hill Business District, you're gonna pay the same fee, because it's going to the same place and it's all the same costs. So we did that throughout the town. We consolidated Harris, most of which goes to the where the center of discovery is. That all gets processed by the village. Kiamisha, we had 4 separate districts. One's when I could be off on one, because one was another district user. Consolidated all into the Kiamisha sewer district. So, if your sewage is processed in Kiamisha, it doesn't matter where you live in the district, you're gonna pay the same price per house, per bedroom. So that's what we did there.
okay, and the biosolids, where do they go?
While they're processed, the effluent is discharged into whatever tributary stream assimilates the sewage. The solids are pressed and, taken away in landfill.
All right, Leslie, I want to make sure we give other folks a chance.
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
no, that's all I have. Thank you.
Eleonora? Well, hang on just a second. I wanted to go to Eleonora, who's online, and then I'll come back to you.
So I just wanted to introduce myself. We just moved in April on Buckingham Circle and just have a quick question about the pool, like when it opens.
So just hang on to that for a second. We're gonna have an opportunity for HOA related comments. Just doing questions and comments for our town supervisor for a moment, but hang out there and I'll recognize you probably in about 5 minutes or so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question, when you refer to resurfacing Piccadilly, is that Circle and Court? We got a lot of potholes on Piccadilly Court. Yeah.
Well, potholes are fine, we can take care of it. The seal, I don't know whether it's quarter, but I really don't.
Okay, if you can have a look at Piccadilly Court and see if
Okay.
they can resurface that, that'd be great.
Yeah, you typically, the court comes off of Piccadilly, it's no problem. Yeah, I think they know, but that's direct from the highway department, Hayden Carnell this morning, and, he does, you'll find that we put a lot of money in roads. It's what you touch leaving for work in the morning, it's what you touch coming back home from work, and in the wintertime, you're safe, and we put a lot of money in roads. So we're just building our last truck in the plow fleet. So we have 13 brand new trucks over the last 12 years that are up and running and zero debt, all paid for. Built in house.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay. Any other questions for the supervisor? Seeing none, Bill, thanks. Hope you feel better.
My pleasure, thank you.
See you around. All right, with that, we can begin the business portion of our meeting. On secretary, call the roll, please. Here.
Alana,
Yeah.
Earl,
What's going on?
you said by 9:30.
Oh, okay.
Nick, can you just?
Here. Here.
Thank you.
Here.
Janet. Here. Tom Getz. Leslie.
Leslie's here. I see Earl is now here.
She's here.
Here.
Thank you, Leslie. Joel. Here. Beverly.
Yeah.
Alex. Here. Zach.
Did not see that.
We have a quorum.
Okay, and you got it all? Okay, thank you. All right, first voting item is our minutes from our not too long ago, April 27th, 2025 meeting. Anybody have any questions or can I get a motion?
A motion to accept.
I'll second.
Great. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any recusals, any abstentions? Hearing none, that passes. Okay, so now we'll go to member and homeowner comments, and Eleonora will recognize you first if you're ready.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just that one quick question about the pool. This one, there was a lot of comments in the Facebook group chat about like maybe Memorial Day versus Father's Day.
So just first of all, welcome. The Facebook group that I think you're referring to, I just want to be clear, is not the Emerald Green Homeowners Association's page. It's run by some folks who I guess live around here and have run this thing. So just pointing that out, careful what information you glean from that. We are officially looking at Father's Day to open the pool heated. And at our last meeting, we talked about possibly opening the pool deck and maybe even the pool around Memorial Day, but without heat. I think that's where we still stand.
That is correct.
So that's the current plan, and assuming the weather continues to be, reasonably decent, I think that's what we'll wind up doing.
I think there was also, we needed to figure out if we had bodies to put there to supervise, so.
That's a very good point. Did we?
It's in the management update when we go
Okay.
into that section, so.
Okay, so we'll get to that in just a few moments. All right, but welcome again.
Thank you.
Anybody in the room? Oh. Rich.
My name is Rich Brown. I'm here since 1987. None of my questions are personal. First, I have a proposal for the board to consider regarding committees. I believe that communities should publish their meeting dates at least 7 days in advance and not the night before a meeting. And that the agenda should be published as well as you do, with a brief explanation of what the agenda means. And that is my recommendation to the board as well, because I'm here specifically in person today to speak and address the renters agreements that are on the agenda. However, I have no idea of what the board is going to propose or discuss. And I'm only here because I have been the previous and the first maker or writer with Mitchell Weinberg in regard to the renters agreement. The rented, and I'll speak to it without knowledge of what you're going to discuss. The renters agreement was created during a time of great upheaval with builders in the community. One specific builder was antagonistic to the community, and as a result, we were concerned about the transition and involvement of the community into a different nature than it was developed. It was initially a weekenders community and heavy on the summer residents as opposed to all winter long. That we would call it philosophy 101 of how the community developed. And we saw a change in it becoming a commuter community. I'd like to say that 7 times.
Yeah, exactly.
On alliteration. At any rate, so I think before this board actually addresses it, we should decide what kind of community you're trying to create and the goals of prevention, as well as a way to monitor the residents who are investing money with the intent of using it for rental properties as opposed to residents. Then there's another issue. You have to consider old fox like me, okay? I may decide that I'm not going to spend the weekends in the summer here, okay? But I'm gonna hold on to my property and rent it to my kids or give it to my kids. How do you handle that kind of conversion? You can't police or monitor what's going on in the family. So don't create rules that are in conflict with the social nature of the community.
I can summarize for you, and believe me, your friend Joel stuck up for you during our strategic planning committee and noted that you drafted the original rules, Rich, and we thank you for that. I can summarize for you the changes. There are few. One is raising the fine for violations from $75 a day to $250 a day. Another is adding the word daily to the prohibition of monthly, weekly rentals, just trying to make sure we keep up with the times of the Airbnb situations. And then third, the biggest change is removing the restriction in, I think it's paragraph 3 of the rental agreement, where after 18 months, you effectively have to kick somebody out and you can't rent it further than that. Remaining though, is the restriction that you have to own your place for 2 years before you can rent it out. So keeping the mindset that, at least at the committee level, we kept the mindset that rentals are okay, but we don't want it to become an investor rental type of community. And then I think we'll discuss then more at the, the philosophy question you just raised. I'm sure folks are gonna have a question on that, but with that summary in mind, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I will point out that a conflict with item 9 is also the item 3 in the existing homeowners. And if somebody wants to refer to the renting and leasing rules, okay, the website blocked it yesterday. After I wrote a note, it opened up. I don't know how that happened.
There was rent manager was having an issue with the documents and we called them
all right,
because
so-
we had a complaint at just to bring that up, sorry. Pat.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We had at the water company meeting, one of the residents said they wanted to access the bylaws and they couldn't get to them, so we
Exactly.
checked with renters.
Several of the,
And we said, what's going on with it? We put a ticket in and they fixed that because that's what was happening. Some of the items were not popping up.
And I should note, I'm not sure if we're talking about the same conflict, Rich, but, we would be striking in paragraph 9, the sentence, only one rental agreement may be approved within a 12-month period, because if you're allowing people to rent for 3 months or 90 days,
Exactly.
that stays, you know,
that
you don't.
was, David did
Yeah.
did that. He edited it about 2 years after Mitchell and I presented it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would come out.
And
just to make it
anything you
consistent.
do with fees and costs really are more realistic now based upon the assessment and the improvements made in the community. And therefore, for example, you have $750 for a renter to utilize facilities. That's very generous in my opinion. And I think it could be $2,000 as reasonable. And someday I may be a landlord as opposed, but my opinion is this community deserves to be supported financially.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna raise that to 1,000,
We
right?
proposed to raise that to 1,000 and,
Yeah.
and offer no guest privileges with that. cost.
And sorry, board members, you'll see that it's not reflected in the draft that I sent out, so my bad.
It's part of the discussion today, though. right?
Correct.
So we do have it on the.
No, we do. I'm pointing out to you guys.
So relative to something that Marcy and Brad Wild brought up last week, this discussion prior, okay, doesn't give the homeowner the opportunity to communicate to the board their feelings in a way with full knowledge of what the board's activities are.
But-
Because the homeowner does not know what's going on. And I will reiterate that it would be nice to have a better reporting back to the community. Because if you go online, any minutes are 2 months later. Because the board has to vote on it and then it's gotta be brought up and updated on the website. So there is no, I don't think there's any kind of bylaw or regulation. Or Robert's rule that prevents you from sending a manager's report, sorry, Nick, to give you more work. Which is basically a 1-paragraph summary of the activity that was carried out at the board. And to go a step further, there are people on the non-kosher website of Facebook, okay? That ask questions, when is the pool gonna open? As they say. If you could attend the meeting, and I try to get to most of them, but occasionally I don't. So I would like to have a place where I could reference it 24/7 after the meeting, and only a little summary. If committees wrote summaries of their report of the outcome of the meeting, and if the board wrote summaries of each thing on the agenda, Nick could give it out as a report. I know it's small work.
Yeah.
I know you're volunteering, okay, and you have real-time jobs. But this community seems to be coming together better under this administration than it has in a number of years, and those were my good friends, okay? There's more camaraderie, and there was a lot of dissension and upset during the building phase. But I think you're coming together, and I think there needs to be a really high level of communication, because not everybody wants to spend Sunday morning. Okay, some people go to church, some people have family. They don't have the opportunity and they don't want to wait 2 months, especially during season, to know what's going on.
So let me just say a few things in response to all of that. One, on the timing of when we do our member comments, I remain convinced this is the best time to do them, because if we waited until the end of the meeting, we've already voted. So we wouldn't have the great information that you just gave us to inform the board members and their thinking. But the second thing is on reporting out from our meetings. Our minutes are up as timely as they can be when they're approved at the next meeting. But also, we record these meetings and they're posted on YouTube. Anybody can go and watch every single word that's discussed. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of getting the information out there. I'm not inclined to saddle Nick with more reporting obligations, but I guess we can talk about that internally and see if that's something else. Dan?
So just to clarify, what you're
what your concern is you're not getting the agenda quick enough, or the agenda action items are not descriptive enough for you to join.
That's the answer.
So you don't know what's going on the committee side, so you may not want to join because you don't know what's going on. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that this community does not participate with the administration of the community. When you get 215 average votes on primary issues in the community, and you have over 700 homes now, okay, you as a board have to find out why.
And then in response to that, your solution is to send out a agenda further in advance with more description. And a further clarifying point, what would be a reasonable expectation for you to send out a summary?
I don't think that should be for me. I think it should be for
No,
what you feel the community
It's your,
deserves,
I hear you, but what is a reasonable expectation from you?
at least a week.
So if we had a committee
If
meeting,
you're sending out an agenda, that means you already have the information as to what you're gonna discuss. And relatively, you know what you're gonna bring up here.
I think more important, I'm sorry.
no, I just need, just allow me to finish this real quick. So what you're saying is if we had a committee meeting today, after 7 days, you would expect a committee report to get sent out? Is that what you're saying?
That, yeah, well, with the committee report, I think the committee chairman, because I've been committee chairman, can offer that report out within 2 days.
Okay,
So, but I think the
Yeah.
7-day thing came from you're asking for 7 days notice of when we're gonna have.
before, yeah.
No, before.
Of a committee meeting.
Yes,
So they
correct.
can- Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if we had to focus on one thing, it would be very helpful for our community, and I kind of do agree, honestly. I'd like to know about our meetings more than a couple days before, when we have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
If everybody's really busy and it's really hectic, then we are volunteers, and there's only
Yeah.
so much people can do in their own personal
Well,
lives as well.
When I was the ad hoc chairman of the Lakes Committee, I scheduled 2 meetings a month, okay, no matter how brief they were going to be. And we attended, and we had turnouts of 12 to 15 people. Okay, and that way, people that were not members of the committee, that didn't want to serve and do, at least had knowledge because their interests were satisfied.
Yeah,
And that held good,
yeah,
and I'm basing it on that kind of response.
yeah, thank you very much, that's really, really good
And I think
feedback.
on the second part about deposing the information from the committee, I think that's why we kind of review it at the board meetings, because if you're sending it out prior to the board meetings, your attendance at the board meetings becomes almost unnecessary.
No, I disagree. The purpose of that is to let people know what's going on in the community, what's being considered, and how it's being managed. There are people in this community who don't believe you do anything.
Okay,
Okay, there are other people in this community who realize that you have a job 7 days a week, okay, and a family, and your own recreation, and you're volunteering. All right, we recognize that, and we understand it, but that's mostly the people who've done it.
I just wanted to gather what your
Okay.
thinking is, that's good.
I wanna, thank you, Rich. Anybody else in the room have
Thank
comments?
you for the time.
Absolutely. Comments, question? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question that I didn't think was appropriate for Bill.
Okay.
We got the mailboxes by the townhouses.
Oh, God, I don't know what's going on. I know that,
Postmaster General.
yeah, it was, I really don't know where that left off, but basically
It's an eyesore, and
Yeah.
mail is not secure.
Mhm.
There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to have a mailbox in front of our house like everybody else does.
I'll try to get with Nick to see if we can't pick that back up and see where we left that off. I know there were communications with the Postmaster General in Wordsboro, I think.
Yes.
But
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Because I live, the time, I just moved in December, and at some point, my mailbox was down, and I had to wait to the ground floor. And now it's replaced and it's sturdy, but there's another one down there. Do we know why they're getting knocked down?
I don't.
Then we are reading more.
Yeah, it's not really an HOA.
It's not, this would be more town.
It would be either the homeowner or the,
Yeah,
Post
I,
office.
it's fine, but I see another one down, so I'm like, oh.
If we go back and revisit as to why we can have a specific place where all your mail gets. Other communities have it, I don't see why we can't.
Well,
And she's absolutely right, that looks, we talked about this for years. And you mentioned something about the mask, I asked.
Maxes over there.
Let's say this. Thank you for the reminder. We're gonna pick the project back up. I think with our new manager, I have a lot of confidence that we might, not saying we're gonna solve the problem, but that we'll get at least some clearer answer or some movement. We'll keep everybody updated, okay?
Thank you.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
real quick, I just want to echo Richard's comment and ask that even for the board meetings, that agenda, there is going to be sent out before, rather than just like.
The agenda might not even be settled for, we had our last meeting 3 weeks ago. If we would have sent that out a week ago, I'm not trying to argue with you about it, but there's a lot of work that goes into these and, we could not have possibly sent that out. It would have looked ridiculous. But we do try to get them out as soon as we can. We really do.
there is a lot of work behind the scenes putting these together. Patrick spends an awful lot of time. You can kind of see
This is the book for today's agenda. This is the paper copy.
85 pages, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that
Is
goes.
that available to residents online?
No,
Other than the stuff that's in executive session?
yeah, that's because it's all mixed in there. No, it's not.
Linda, you were on the last committee meeting, which was Wednesday, and we had a policy, probably maybe one of the most important things we're voting on today, came out of that meeting, and then that needed revisions as we discussed, and so like Thursday end of day would have been like earliest for us to have a policy, that policy, which is important, fully baked and ready for distribution for.
And then now, in addition with the water companies meetings aligning with the POA's meetings, the water companies meeting was on Wednesday, right? So the POA's meeting's on Sunday now, so what's that?
Yeah, this is that the committee meetings need to be scheduled earlier.
Sure.
You have that latitude so that you can incorporate all that information and get the agenda out in time to fashion.
I recognize the grace that you're extending us, and I recognize the grace, Rich, that you are extending us in these, and I, appreciate the positive feedback. I just say, it's been a year so far, and we're doing our best. And, I think for members, I take your point about community engagement, and I don't wish to reopen this discussion, but there is an expectation that members who want to get engaged have to put in some work, right? They have to show up to a committee meeting. They have to show up to a board meeting. If they do those things, the information is in front of the community. This board is not doing anything to, to hide information. Like, we have these open discussions, we have committee meetings, we post the meetings, but we do expect that members who are interested, who have a question about it, and again, I don't wish to reopen the discussion. You gotta show up, like, members gotta meet us somewhere. And I think we're asking them to meet us maybe 25-75 in terms of access to information. I think we're doing our best.
If you have a calendar of committee meetings and the committee chairman has the responsibility to hold that meeting with an agenda, okay? The rest of the community can be notified about it. And most community meetings, I believe, whatever the committee is, they're allowed to attend. And like you said, if you have an interest, you attend, okay? You don't ask on the other Facebook page, when is the pool opening? If you attend the meeting, you know what this was discussed, and you have some familiarity. And maybe at that point, one of the members who's really in attendance can answer the question of a community member who couldn't attend. But by the sharing of information brings the community together, and correct information and not, nonsense that goes on.
We do have a Facebook page that everybody can join and go on.
And we do share a lot of information on that. And one of the
Yeah.
challenges, Rich, is that a lot of folks who do attend the committee meetings are also commenting on that other Facebook page. So there is some misinformation sharing and perpetrating that
The
goes on.
longer the commentary goes, that's it. I can only give you an example of my community in Florida. There's a manager's report every Friday night. That's a big job. And then there's a compliance committee report, an architectural review committee report, and so on. I'm not asking for that. All I'm asking for is get rid of the gossip. get the information out and let people understand what that information is in some way.
I like your idea.
We're never gonna get the gossip out
I
as
like-
much as I wish.
I like your idea of calendaring committee meetings, and we'll talk as a group about how we can try to do that better. Because I think that'll help all of us, especially me, because it'll make my job a little bit easier.
Everybody's job gets easier when
But
everybody knows.
I'll talk to the board offline about that, and I think we can try to focus on that as like the first piece. I think that'll be a good start.
Speaking of information, I want to get us
Yes.
moving in our meeting. Leslie, I see that your hand is up. We also have a comment from John in the chat, which says, hi, I bought property here last year and have been told since that there is a hold on any building permits due to the water storage tank. What is the status on this? Dan's gonna address that a little bit more on the water company update, but yes, there is a moratorium on building in Emerald Green by order of the Department of Health. So nothing we can do about that. And as you heard from the town supervisor, the town is also under the same order and is not inclined to, even if we issued a building permit, the town would not issue one because they're not inclined to violate the Department of Health's order. Leslie, go ahead quickly, please.
Yes, back to the mailboxes. Years ago, I met with the postmaster in Worcester. We were told that, there was a lot of red tape, of course. And it was gonna be expensive, but we were already looking at where to put them, which would have been across the street from where they're at now. Even with the canopy. I can find my notes from back then and relate that information to the community. Perhaps if it was expensive back then, it's going to be even more expensive now. But perhaps some of the rules may have changed. But the person that we need to speak with again is with the postmaster in Wordsboro. With regards to
Leslie, can you forward that information to Nick and Patrick of everything you might have, so that way Nick can get started on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm even willing to go knock on doors of the people that are in that section to, get their input. Because yes, it is an eyesore.
I think we have it.
With regards to the calendar, I think it behooves us to set meetings on specific dates, so those meetings can be published on the website in the calendar, and people can share that information, and whether it's in the official or non-official Facebook page, they all can share that information there and say, hey, there is an oversight meeting on the 13th at 6:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, we don't always have the folks who are leading these committees don't have full-time jobs and the schedules are always changing. I, for one, could not commit to say every third Wednesday night or something like that. I gotta see how it goes each and every month.
Right, I have two jobs as well, so I know how it is.
No, I know. I think we've just beaten this horse well enough to death. Let's move along if we can. Are there other questions, comments? Rich?
When you have a meeting of
No, we're gonna give it another.
and it be open that the moderator does not have to invite the person in, because on some of them, I have seen people say, call me to say they can't get on. The moderator is not opening it up in a timely manner.
All I can tell you is we can ask the committee chairs to make sure that they're monitoring those waiting rooms, because I think it's not smart if we don't have waiting rooms. Right, I
Well,
think we all learned during COVID.
If it was recently, that's because there was a transition to different meeting rooms when things changed with our Zoom, so recently there was an issue with that on the Zoom side.
So just so the new people, the Facebook page, that's the unofficial Facebook page, no one responds to from the board. So if you're putting questions out there, you're not gonna get answers from the board. Your best bet is to call the office. So that is that for the new people. Or
And
you
there
can
really is an
email us.
official Facebook.
There really
page
is.
With real information,
Yeah, it might be time to ask the moderator so that other
with the
ones,
Zoom
please
links
change the name
actually
of
for
it.
all the meetings too.
Sorry?
I said with the Zoom links for all the meetings
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Agendas.
Yes.
and notices.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything is on
we
that.
may want to
Facebook
ask the
page.
moderators that other groups, please change the name of it. I think it's super confusing. It's obviously confused one new resident, who spoke earlier, and I think it's incredibly confusing for other people, but okay. Gotta move on. All right, Nick, for our management report.
Okey dokey. Seems like we've covered at least the pool opening portion of the report, so let me just give you an update. The pool is set up. We had to do some rewiring of the controls in there and some testing. Had B&B Electric in there, I'm sorry. B&B Pools and B&B Electric in there, both, coincidentally enough. We have a gasket coming for the heater for the small pool. The gasket is leaking in there, so they're ordered that part up from Lock and Bar. That should be here this week. They'll replace that out. It's not a major change. Should take them about a half a day to do that once it comes. In addition, they'll be installing the new chemical units at the time when they do that change out. So we're using up the chlorine that we have in stock currently, and then we'll switch over to the 99% tablets once the new units are installed. On the fitness center and mirrors, equipment, Anthony called on Friday, equipment's about 3.5 weeks out still. Once that arrives, then we get that in the room, then we will determine the final placement of the mirrors. I know Dan took a look at that the other day, and I definitely would like Beverly's input on that as well.
Let me know anytime.
Once that equipment gets installed, so we can finalize that, but they're only about a 2-week lead time for the mirrors, so that should not hold us up. Docs are planning to go in on Tuesday. So that's a good update there. Summer staffing, we have started our follow-up with our summer help. We know that Owen, who is one of our grounds workers, is not returning this year. So we are looking for a young individual to help us out there, preferably someone has, not preferably, that person has to be at least 18 years old because they will be operating power equipment in that role. So we are looking for someone there. Nate is back from school, but Nate has been helping us out in the office and outside. And Jenna is coming back starting tomorrow. So Nate will be transitioning primarily outside and helping Junior do some much needed cleanup in the back area by the shop there that's turned into a little bit of a, call it a garbage storage area over the last few years. So we're gonna be cleaning that up. There's a dumpster up there right now, and we'll be cleaning that area and getting that nice and neat and clean again. Only other item to report on, we are just waiting for a release from the bank on the piece of equipment we are procuring from M&H. They had to get a lien release resolved there, so we're just waiting for that to happen, and they can release that to us for a purchase, not from us, but from the prior owner. I guess it was a foreclosure or a repossession, so they had to solve that before they could title it to us. That is an update of the pertinent things on the POA side of management.
Board member Hint, right?
Yes.
Board member questions for Nick?
Did you get a time window? Is somebody available if we did open the pool?
Is our staff available? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do have staff available if we decide to open.
So if we
the
can,
sooner.
we're good, good. Great.
It's a boat over by the trash compactor. Is that trash, that boat?
It's talking about the boat that's been out there for at least since I've been here.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Trash.
Trash, yeah,
Since Moses came down off the mountain.
pretty much.
So what do we do with it?
We're going to find out who it belonged to based on the VIN number on it, and if we can identify who that is, we're gonna ask them to come and get it, and if they don't, if it's one of our POA members, then we're going to assess them for its disposal.
Leslie?
Yes, the equipment that we're waiting for the lien release letter, that's not a title vehicle, is it?
The Mahindra is a titled vehicle, yeah, they have.
Okay.
it's a titled
So after we procure the lien release letter, are we going to title that vehicle so we'll have the title in Emerald Green's name?
Correct.
Okay. With regards to the vehicles at the storage unit there, are we going to make sure that those vehicles are registered, insured, operable? And if not, they will be removed?
Are you talking in the current storage area in the back, Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be part of the report, Earl's report when we get to that, but yes.
Okay, thank
That'll
you.
come up in that part.
Yeah, I don't want it to become a junkyard.
Absolutely not. Alana,
Do we need to rent another piece of equipment to get the docks in on Tuesday
we
then?
will not.
Okay,
There's a plan.
We have a plan.
yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Financial review. We have the March and April 2025 financial reports, tab 2 of your board books, board members,
Basically, things are,
along with Joel's various reports. Joel, turn it over to you.
basically, things are going okay. You know, there's an issue with the insurance, but I'll square that up with the accountant, where it should be paid for the insurance, and insurance runs more than a calendar year, it ends like in February, so we actually have too much insurance on our P and L, and we need to move some of that over to the balance sheet. Other than that, if anybody has any questions, let me know. And we go from there. Oh, good thing is, in April, Nick filled out the construction piece, you know, so hopefully we'll get that in, we'll start seeing money coming in from that. So that's a good thing, and
Special assessment payment number 3, Joel was referring to.
yep, so that's a good thing.
That is due June 1st, according to the original letter that went out. And that has been billed. It was sent out April 15th. We gave folks 45 days notice that it would be due June 1st. And we have been receiving quite a bit of those payments in already, so.
Okay. All right, questions for Joel?
Motion approved.
Second.
Great, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, recusals, abstentions? Hearing none, both March and April's financials are approved. It'll be posted to our website. Okay. Let's go on to the water company item. First up is at our last meeting, we asked folks who wanted to apply for the EGLLM Water Company Board to please submit your applications by email to me as of Friday. We did receive 2 applications, one from Tom Gans and the other from Glenn Bernardo, who's here with us. Tom has withdrawn his name from consideration, however, for circumstances that are up to him. So we have one applicant for, there will remain one seat open. So again, we're gonna open another round of application process and ask that anybody who wants to apply for that to please do so before our next meeting, which is June 22nd. So by June 20th, we'll send out an email notice. If anybody wants to apply for the water company board, please do so.
Send your resumes to pkennel@EGPOA.
At emeraldgreenpoa.com, yeah. And it's PKENNELL at emeraldgreenpoa.com. Okay, with that, Len, do you want to just come up for a second? So Len Bernardo is one of the applicants, and I know folks on the board may wish to have questions for him that'll be put forward for board vote in a moment. So anybody have questions for Len, or Len, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Len Bernard, I've been here in Emerald Green for about 6 years, actually going on 7 years. My wife Terry is a legislator, District 9 out district here. Didn't think I was going to get involved until obviously it's important to get involved. Water is a very important, obviously, necessity. The real issue is the business side, in my opinion. You guys have great folks running it, making sure you're doing stuff the correct way, but also there's a lot of challenges. The biggest challenges are making sure you prioritize what those things are. And that's where we are today. And with my business experience, I created, I don't know if anybody knows the financial industries, the net asset value of mutual fund pride in 1988. was not normalized. I normalized that number for the complete nation and the industry.
Now you're dating yourself.
Huh?
Now you're dating yourself.
Well, I'm old. It's okay. It's okay to get old. But the more important side is not to know about water, in my opinion, is to understand really what it takes to make sure you have a sustainable water operation. We're not a big one, but I think that's really the key to success. And any success that we do is making sure you have a good outcome to an end. Thank you.
One thing I wanted to say about Len real quick, just so everybody is aware. Not only did Len apply for the position, but Len has been in contact with myself and Nick the entire way, trying to get up to speed and learn more. And he's been actively participating in things, so huge advocate, and I appreciate your
No,
your volunteerism already.
we gotta look at things, and prioritize them, because we want to continue to succeed as a community. And the backside of it, I am from Lake Louise Maryside, okay? So prior to applying, I went to our board and made sure that, they put it out to our board, to our community, to see if anybody else would be interested in doing so. And once again, I did, and everybody was okay with that, and it was approved by the board. So I'm not here on my own. I want you to know that I'm here because our board said, okay, Len, we would allow you to do that. And with Camille and Pat's help, if you know them, they've been around a long time, and they'll be a great person for me to go through history and understand what the rules are.
So I appreciate that step, but I just want to be clear with folks, that's not required. by-
No, I know, but I think it was more of a personal issue.
No problem.
I don't want to upset people on,
Yeah, that's totally fine. I just want to make clear
It
for the
goes to
record.
the context of your volunteerism, so that's
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, any questions for Len?
I would motion to appoint.
Leslie's got her hand up online.
Yes, thank you. Len, welcome. I am absolutely love that you on board. With regards to the water company, this question is for Dan. Will the financials, minutes, and such will be posted in our website? Or will the water company create their own website? Or method of communication to the community?
Can Dan address that in his update? We're gonna just deal with Len's candidacy first. Any questions for
Sure.
Len?
Sure.
It's okay. Anybody else?
Len, what specific outcomes are you hoping to change by being a board member?
Well, I think the biggest problem we have in the area is infrastructure. You had the supervisor here, right? We talked about projects going on, just like lights and sewer, that have been issues for a very long time. You mentioned the pump stations, pump station 1, 2, and 3. My house was affected on Crescent Circle. Luckily, we came up with a solution to hold off or fix it on a personal cost, by the way. In the interim, until 6 years have passed, and it's still not fixed, and we're still waiting for it. So sometimes you have to take control of your infrastructure. And I think that's where I completely understand where Dan is. You don't realize the little things that are most important things. If we don't look at our first of all, aging community as a whole, and number two, our aging infrastructure as a whole, all you're doing is kicking the can down the road.
How do you see yourself being the bridge between the owners of the owners of the water company, the HOA property members, and where you're coming from as a Lake Louise Marine public utility user?
Well, I think it's one of the same, in my opinion. It's the same water source, right? It's the same water treatment. So what really separates is a name, in my opinion. And again, looking at the board, we're one person from, Lake Louise side, and the rest of the folks are, I would assume, from the Emerald Green side. Did I answer your question correctly?
A little bit. I think you're just in a unique position because I don't think we've really had the outside users as board members in the past, have we? I think you present a unique situation, so I didn't know if you recognized that you were in a unique position.
Oh, no, I did, and quite frankly, I'm not gonna make light of it, but again, being part of a system that supplies water to, water's a necessity of life, right? So let's folks go over there and do the same necessity as you folks. I guess it's more of the same. I hope.
Yeah. well, we want to protect our investment.
Of course, well,
And you're right. Well,
yeah.
well, you may have to be making decisions on infrastructure that will obviously impact rates potentially and so.
You know, that's part of the game, right?
Mhm,
You know,
absolutely.
none of us like to pay taxes.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin is taxes are a very important part, or fees, whatever you wanna describe a tax, a fee or whatever. It's important to realize you're doing it for a purpose, but at the same time, using those fees in a proper way and making sure you have the oversight to do that is the most important part. There are many times we look at fees and things that we pay daily, right? You often wonder, and I'll joke about this, but what happened to the years of, and I'm showing my age again, folks, when everybody said we're gonna have lottery, and lottery's gonna pay for education. Well, there's no oversight, right? So what happens? So, school tax, I go up, we continue to pay $40,000 a student, right? Which is a lot of money, but we need education. So, where is that line, Joe?
I just want to thank you for volunteering.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Len? Seeing none,
I just want a motion to appoint Lynn to the water company.
and I'll second that.
For
So
a 2.5-year term.
which one, Nick? Remind me? I think it is.
Yeah.
You're referring to the 1.5s,
Yes.
Zach and Alex, and Dan is on 3.5, so this would have to be a 2.5.
Okay, so for a 2.5 year.
Process of elimination.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions?
Thanks for.
Hearing none. Congratulations, Len. Thanks. I really appreciate your willingness to step up. And again, for other folks, there is now remaining one open seat on the EGLLM board if you still wish to apply. Okay. Let's go on.
We will be doing an alignment or realignment, so.
All right, Dan, if you can give us now your update on, I guess, I have it as capital improvement projects plus holding tank project update and then the general update. So you can do it in whatever order you want.
Okay, so, quick update, we had a meeting on Wednesday. The water company board approved the borrowing of $1 million to fund capital improvement project phase 1, which includes the pumps and the expansion tanks that are inside of the facility. Those upgrades are necessary to send and distribute the water to and from the tank that is ultimately necessary. As far as the tank's concerned, just like to talk to, I know we have homeowners who are kind of hanging in the wind on certain things, so to speak. So I just want to remind people, overall, the #1 priority of the water company is the safety and well-being of all of our users. Having healthy water distributed to all of our users is obviously being the focal point in the water system. So the process, the pumping, treating, and producing water is in fact conducive to what is called Giardia. Giardia is an infection inside the water, and it can be activated if water doesn't go through a process that we're currently doing. So it goes through a process called CT, or contact time. And as it's going through the water treatment process, it comes in contact with chlorine. Chlorine is the obviously killer or the anti-activation phase of the Giardia in the water. Currently, the water system is operating completely, totally safe. The concern is that we have reached the capacity of the contact time of the chlorine. So if we add additional users to that tank that we have in place right now, we have the ability to hinder the contact time of the water and the chlorine. So at some point in time, late summer last year, 2024, the Department of Health was receiving a survey from the Homeowners Association as well as some builders, and they wanted to see what our water system capacity would look like if we added X amount of users. That's where the Department of Health stepped in and said, hey, we believe that it's in your best interest to make sure that we're not adding additional users, because you're at that position right now where you're within specs of contact time, but as you continue to add users, you hinder your ability to kill those bacteria. So that's where the building moratorium came in, and we wanted to make sure that we protected all of the users currently on the system. We'd also like to remind people that not only do we have homeowners on the system, we have a children's hospital. So that is extremely important that we make sure we protect the hospital. We have a restaurant on the system. So we want to make sure that we're providing healthy, safe water to the restaurant. So you all are the number one priority. I understand the financial implications to the builders and the developers. But in the meantime, until we can get these upgrades in place, we cannot protect the safety and well-being of the people we currently have on the system. Does that help explain, for the most part, some of the building moratorium?
Yeah.
As far as that goes, we did have some discussions with our engineering as well as our Department of Health point of contact, myself and Nick and Alex. We've put some miles on recently, and now we're 3 weeks into position, and we're trying to make sure that we get everything in place and everything accounted for. There were some things that we felt we wanted to double check and cross-reference to make sure we're in play. So we do have some opportunities to discuss. We also want to make sure that we get a good foundation of communication between us and the Center for Discovery, because there is potentially an impact on their ability to provide water and maybe even a fire system. So we want to make sure that we're doing our diligence to cover all of the financial implications. And we have, obviously, we're borrowing $1 million for the plant upgrades. We're gonna work with all of our close advisors to make sure that we do the best procurement of those funds available for phase 1s, 2, and 3 to properly encapsulate them.
And I think you may have touched on it, but you're also sourcing with Nick's Help grant opportunities and.
Yeah, so the bonding.
Yeah.
The bonding and grant, so that's a part of this. We did find cause, and you know, that's part of the communication we want to have with Discovery Center. We did find cause that this could become a public funded project down the line. We want to make sure that we cross on that first. So we're going to loop in all of our close advisors. Obviously, this would be the county and the town and the state, to make sure that we do our diligence. It's not what we intend on borrowing for the full scope of the project, but the initial borrowing was to make sure that we cover the immediate impacts of the water plant right now. Immediately, we need a replacement to the pressure tank. The pressure tank currently in place is 1958. The pressure tank has been patched several times. So we want to make sure we get that pressure tank replaced. We have three distribution pumps. The most recent distribution pump is 2015. The other two are 2006. One of them is already down. So obviously the other one has the potential to go down as well. Not here to scare anybody, just giving you an idea of what the infrastructure looks like. We want to make sure that we get that met immediately. These pumps and tanks are between 14 and 18-week lead times. So if we get those on order immediately, that's the urgent need. So that's really the means to the borrowing initially of the $1 million, to make sure we get that quickly and efficiently done. And what was your other point?
No, I was gonna ask you to address Leslie's question. If you're done on the capital projects piece, is there a sort of general update, or is that all wrapped in one?
A timeline on that, or?
Yeah, just like generally what's going on.
So right now, we met with the engineer and the Department of Health several times last week. We have an estimate we're gonna get back from TAM Engineering or TAM Contracting the first week of June. Once we get that back, we'll be able to get a better understanding of what the labor and material costs are from them. We're sourcing a quote from Kinsley as well as others for a generator. We need a emergency standby generator as well. So we're gonna get that in place. And then we'll have more information probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks that we're gonna provide at our June 18th water company board meeting.
Okay, and in terms of Leslie's question about the website and, whatever you're gonna do.
So our, obviously intention, we are a subsidiary of the POA, so we want to make sure that we include all of our information on that POA website, so we will update that. Currently, Nick is kind of overseeing the secretary aspect, so hopefully, once we get a realignment in place, we can get that figured out and we can get all those meeting minutes up to date.
And then, just pointing out, because I happened to see it as well, that the meetings of the water company are gonna be open to the public and, folks were able to attend.
We had a pretty good turnout.
Recently, yeah, so, okay, board member questions?
Can I make one comment based on the government side of borrowing?
Yeah.
If you look at it, previous borrowing, we had asked a couple of years ago about that. Money is available, however, there was a caveat. Lake Louise Parade had to become public, open for everybody's use. So we walked away from that.
Well,
Not in order to access IDA bond funding for the Center for Discovery for the piece that we're looking at. That's what Dan's referring to, Bob.
Okay.
so
We ran through the same problem when we did with the.
Yeah, but maybe when it was discussed at that time, it wasn't discussed in the context for what we're looking at now.
I'm not gonna read emails to say, but I can assure you that, we've done our diligence to the point where we actually sat in front of the town and we're procuring all the information necessary to their CO and everything. And we have information that's related to the Center for Discovery and the need for a fire system upgrade, so.
Rich, I'll just say, it's time for board member questions. You can
Is there
visit with Dan.
information to residents?
No, you can visit with Dan, offline or attend their next meeting. It's really
Yeah,
just an update.
we're just a segment of the POA board meeting.
Do board members have any questions? Joel?
So how are you gonna pay for this $1 million that you're leaving along?
So debt service obviously is a consideration. Currently, we do have debt service in place through the First National Bank of Jeffersonville. So what we would like to do is we would like to pay that debt off with the borrowing of the funds, or maybe if Jefferson Bank wants to open up our line of credit, we would open that up and extend it and then pay off our initial debt, so that way we can use those remaining funds for the project.
But the line that you have now is what, about 150 to 200,000?
$300,000 line with $132,000 balance.
You have 132 out, but so when you start doing your construction, that it's gonna start going up. How are you gonna pay for it?
Joel, I don't think you understand. We just borrowed,
You have to pay it back.
we approved to borrow $1 million. So right now, we're in the phase of which banking institution we're gonna.
So we're paying $5,000 a month in debt service right now on that line of credit.
Okay,
So on $1 million lines, our debt service is gonna be about 75 to 8,000 a month. If we're paying interest only until we get to the bonding phase.
okay.
So we have enough cash flow at the moment for the first phase of the project until we get to the point in which we convert to bonding.
So. Your cash flow is tight. You kind of
We have,
borrow money.
right.
So we just had a rate increase approved, right? So the rate increase is approved. What we did, and you know, maybe this will help answer your question. We worked with the accountant. The accountant ran a cash flow long-term worksheet all the way out 2 years on what it would look like, current debt service and additional debt service. That's where we determined the best possible outcome was not to go the route that we were presented, but to find our alternative outcome of $1 million debt. So the funds are available for us to pay in the interim. Obviously, in the background, we're working towards bonds and grants.
Did you send us that cash flow? We can see it.
Huh?
Can you send us the cash?
I have a copy, I can let you see it.
Okay, and then. Okay, that's gonna be interesting. Then also, on the financials that you gave us, and thank you for that. That was like a monthly. Could you give us like a year-to-date number instead of monthly, and then also include a balance sheet?
Yeah, so the P&L is the current means of financial until we can get the budget plugged in, and then we can work on a balance sheet.
I think you can run the report year-to-date.
I got you. I can do that.
Yeah.
On the P&L side.
Right.
On the balance sheets and the financial statements, once we get the budget from the,
Balance sheet and the budget.
I hear you. Once we get that,
balance sheet and the budget have nothing to do with each other. You can run the balance sheet like 12/31/24 and run the other number as of 12, whatever the date is, and we'll give you like we do on ours. That's what I'm trying to do, just trying to get you standardized.
I got you.
I have a question,
Beverly and then Leslie, go ahead.
sorry. So you're talking about your current financial plan being enough to fund for the cash flow for the initial phase of the project. And then the bonding hopefully will cover the rest. What is the contingent plan if you're not approved for the bonding or you don't get the bonding? Because that's where my concern would be.
Yeah, so if it doesn't go to bonding like through the IDA, there is that, so that's a tax exempt government bond. Then there's taxable bonds you can issue. There were mortgages like the prior water company were going to get issued for the project. There's other funding sources. We haven't finalized the identity of those yet because right now, with what we've discovered, there was a plan to, at least looks like, provide fire service protection for the Center for Discovery, but there was not a requirement that we do so.
Right.
So now we're going to discuss that with the Center for Discovery and the IDA and how we would enter into an agreement to do that and how that cost would be shared.
Yeah,
So it's a little bit of a work in progress at the moment.
yeah, I guess what I'm trying to ask or what.
How do you
the
pay for
point-
it if you don't get that?
Well, it's not just that, but my question is, if you don't have the information down the road, right, because you're not there yet, which is, this plan sounds great. My concern is, if it all doesn't work out, would an initial plan such as the one that was presented previously have been more cost saving? That's where my
No,
concern
the
is, no.
the other plan,
Okay,
the end of the road plan, if this plan doesn't
Yeah.
work, is gonna be very similar to the prior plan, and that is another rate increase.
okay,
So what we're trying to do is mitigate any rate increase by getting as much subsidy and as much help as we can.
that's fine, I completely agree with
Yeah.
that, I guess what I'm worried about is if it doesn't work out, if there's gonna be an even bigger rate increase because we didn't plan for it from the beginning,
No,
that's all.
that's why
That's my
why,
question.
It gives us time to be able to work on those
yeah,
while making sure that we put systems in place that aren't going to explode inside of the water plant.
yeah, that,
Listen, I'm
that's step one.
not questioning that it's not a good plan, I'm just concerned about down the road, things that you can't
So
plan for.
I'll just be genuine and honest with you. The original plan was not going to be enough to cover the project.
Okay. I mean, that's important, so there's the transparency, and that's kind of why I'm asking the
There
questions
was
I'm asking.
a lot of shortfalls in the original plan that we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence and cross-check. And we want to make sure that we're putting the package. I'll give you what you're saying is potential worst case scenario. Worst case scenario.
That's why I'm
Worst
asking.
case scenario would have actually
That's my
looked like,
plan.
being honest, worst case scenario would have actually been significantly worse. We signed on to that loan agreement if it was able to been extended, which had already been expired. Start the work, realize we're potentially up to $1 million short. Now we're paying a debt service that we probably can't afford, and we're $1 million short. So,
With no plan for a bailout.
yeah, so
Okay.
this is
So now
why,
what we're doing is we're gonna figure out what it's actually gonna cost to build
Mhm.
all of these improvements. Who's going to pay for it and where the money's going to come from.
Oh,
that's
that's
why,
fine.
and in the meantime, get those tanks and pumps on order that are 18-week lead time.
Yeah, well, that needs to be done no matter what, obviously.
Right, because we could wake up one morning and not have.
Right, correct, yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
And I have quotes here for just those materials alone, it's $242,000
Okay.
for those tanks and the pumps. So,
Not inclusive of labor, not inclusive. of-
Yeah.
Not inclusive of the generator. Thank you for including the generator. That's been a nightmare for me.
Okay, Leslie?
Yes, I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly and to simplify this whole discussion, because I think some of it was, my question was sort of kind of answered. But to simplify and to make sure that I understand this correctly, because we have the restraint of the PSC with rates, is it fair to assume that this current rate that we just got may cover these expenses coming up? And
it'll
would it
cover
be
the debt
fair?
service term.
would it be fair to assume as well that there may be another rate increase application? Because what we just seen with this last one, it took years. So would it be fair to say, yes, we are going to, once we are middle of this project and we see that we are short, are we going to apply for another rate increase?
All right, so just let me touch on a couple things there. The water company rate increase, that was just approved by the PSC, we just received, 2 days prior to myself being appointed to the water company, okay? And digesting all of that information, it's come to like that, the new water rate is $4.59 per 1,000 gallons of water use, okay? That $4.59 would be a revenue increase of $226,000 on the, water company. That's where we're getting the determination on what we're gonna be able to afford and what we typically can't afford. We're never gonna enter into an agreement to take on a debt that is not going to finish a project that we can't fund and afford. So I just wanna get that out there, that will never happen. And, it's just not going to happen. So this is why we've entered into agreement and borrowed $1 million to support the plant upgrades, which we know we can afford, while we work on securing the funds and capital for the remaining phase 2 and 3 of the project. And then we get the building moratorium lift and we can all live a happy bliss life. As far as the potential for rate increase, obviously down the line, there is the ability at any point in time for us to go back to the PSC for an additional rate increase. The reason why it took 2.5 years is because there was a lot of accounting that was not accurate. And Nick kind of is helping me bring some of that stuff to light. The PSC obviously brought a lot of stuff to light. So we are now on a path to sustainable accounting processes to make sure that all of that is happening. There was another point. Nick also might want to touch on the rate case or the potential for the rate case. Is that what you're going to touch on?
Yeah, just briefly, the rate case that was approved, just to be clear, was to cover the expenses of the water company that they had in the past and that they have now. And to cover the debt service to pick up the line of credit that has been used to fund the water company during its time in which it did not have the benefit of the rate increase. However, once that debt service is cleared, the additional profit that would sit in the water company can be utilized for debt service and future repairs. In this case that just took place, we lost things like the emergency repair surcharge because of accounting procedures. But what they did is they increased our base rate that we charge to the customers so that it's automatically built in. So we're receiving that money now, and we can utilize that money going forward. And in the places where we can use it is in debt service for the improvements that we're talking about here. So we have that money, we have the benefit of that money, and we can utilize it for this project. Yes, there probably will be another PSC rate case at some point. Will it take 2.5 years? Hopefully not. The reason why it won't is because the accounting procedures will be tightened, they will be streamlined, and they will not be as inefficient as they were in the past, I think is a nice way to put it. But we've been working with RBT on this. They've noted it as we've seen in our audits and our discussions, and we're working on tightening up those procedures.
I can just say that it's been a mad dash of a lot of things going on in 3 weeks, and I really hope people can respect what has gone into just getting us to this point. The initial project and discussions of this project started in 2017, is our understanding and the information. Engineers plans were started in 2021. So getting us to this position in 3 weeks, people got to understand there's a lot of time going in the background to just trying to get this squared away and make sure, one, we protect the water to all of the users, make sure that it's safe and habitable, and we don't add people that are going to change that. So I understand the builder's concerns. Hey, you just bought a property and now you can't get a permit to build. I understand, but at the same time, we have people whose lives are dependent on us providing healthy water, so that takes precedence.
And can you do one thing, and I think it's important to have this discussion, right now, we're at $10.74, correct?
So we're at 459.
459, thank you so much. With that said, if you look at the state average, okay, which is a very important number, that means there are some higher and some lower. We're slightly lower than the median, which means that now it's time to fix the infrastructure. Because now being creative, obviously, with financing, being creative, making sure, as the words I want to use very specifically, that we're able to recover our cost through revenue. These are very important things to look at. That's how you asked me about taxation or budgeting. That's the number I think that both Dan and Nikki had done a fabulous job looking at. So we can never neglect that. In fact, I just wanted to make sure that people realizing where we sit with the state average.
Oh, yeah.
Cost.
And, you know, just for comparison, I know that we got a lot of things.
Yeah, we do.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
but for comparison purposes, homeowners should really look at our water rate and then compare it to some of the other, these are all public, right?
Right.
So you could go look up Middletown's water rate right now, it's $10.72 per 1,000 gallons. So they're double what we are. So I understand that people are getting hit with the rate increase right now. I'm a homeowner and I'm paying the same, I got it. It's just, there's a lot going on behind the scenes and a lot we're working on. So in the next 2 to 3 months, you'll see a lot more of us bringing you up to speed.
And really appreciate all the work that you put in, Dan. Earl, you're gonna get the last question in and then we gotta move on.
Yeah, the only I have a statement and a question. Dan, you know how I feel about you and what you're doing on this. You definitely get the Board Member of the Year award. I think folks take what has happened since Dan and Nick have gotten into this, they take it for granted because, you know, a month and a half ago, we were all on the other side of this. So I trust Dan empirically. I guess my only question for you, Nick and Dan, from a contractor perspective, should the expectation be that they're going to have some type of performance bond for all of whomever the contractor that gets identified, so we can hold he or she accountable for their work, especially that work that is sensitive to the criticality of us making sure we have water? We have to issue some type of performance bond on those contractors.
It's part of engineering.
Yeah, I mean, or we're gonna, whoever we contract with, you know, we're gonna have a AIA contract, there's gonna be scopes of work, there is gonna be the proper payment schedules, and yes, there will be performance bonding in place. I mean, we're talking about major players here now. TAM is a contractor that's not only used by, I mean, the town of Thompson is using them on a project, but they're industry wide. I mean, they're throughout the state of New York doing municipal infrastructure projects. So these are not guys, you know, we just, you know, kind of found down the street somewhere.
We're pulling every, Earl, we're
Go ahead,
pulling
Dan,
every
sorry.
string possible to get TAM on site within a week of having engineers' plans. I think you could probably respect what it took to get TAM to meet us on
It's hard
project.
as shit. It's hard as shit. I think the only other thing is, and Dan, I had a brief conversation with Nick about this, so I know he's on it. If we have the opportunity to at least keep the business local, at least in some form or fashion, if there are local contractors that can benefit from the ecosystem, that if nothing else, just live in Sullivan County or Orange County, maybe, you know, reaching out to Bill Raber to see how we can ensure that we're trying to circulate those dollars within the county. Just something to think about. Other than that,
Yeah.
I trust you, John. Dan.
We spoke to TAM about that, especially for the local trades like paving and electrical and those types of things. You know, so we did, and they would want to use local trades for that anyways. It would save them money to do so.
All right, perfect. That's all I had.
All right, thanks, Earl. We're gonna move on in our meeting. So we're gonna go move to our committees. Lakes Committee, Pool Committee, Bylaws Committee had no meetings this month, or at least in the last 3 weeks. The board only budget, it's now expanded to the Budget, Accounts Receivable, and Audit Committee. We met, there's a readout of that, board members at tab 4 of your board books. One of the action items that come out of that is revisiting a draft that we were circulating last year, but got distracted with other issues, and have now revisited. So we wanted to formalize our, foreclosure policy for unpaid dues and violations. I know our board has sort of grappled with the when and how to do that, and we thought we'd put together sort of a very clear policy that would then go out to members of the community. That's tab 5 of your board books. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at that. Does anybody have any questions on it? Earl, is your hand still up or is that? Okay, I'll lower that. And basically this is just codifying what we kind of have already been doing as a board. When an account reaches $10,000 threshold, to look at it for potential foreclosure. But again, each of these have to be made on a case by case basis of decisions. So, all right. With that, any questions?
I motion to approve.
Okay. Great. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Great. We'll make sure that's published to our website so folks can see that. Okay, Earl, if you're still with us, we have your oversight committee, board members, written reports at tab 6, and we have 3 voting items. It looks like 2, but two of them are in the same document, tab 8. So this is 6, 7, and 8 of your board books. Earl, any sort of quick update?
No, I think the biggest thing, one, I appreciate Nick, and I've had multiple conversations in the daytime and in the evening time just to try to get some progress around the preliminary guidelines for the boat storage. And so I think we're at a half decent place. I do know one of the asks is that we come up with at least preliminary guidelines for the boat storage, and then ensure that we follow up with the the committee members for the oversight committee on where that sits. And then as it relates to the rental of the clubhouse, that's pretty simple. I don't think there's anything that needs to be discussed collectively about that. I think what was proposed was 1,000% fair, was 1,000% on. I think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, we're at $300 a rental moving forward, but also grandfathering the persons who had already settled on the initial fee of $100, and then giving them the option if they wanted to upgrade, for lack of a better word, for the equipment, that there would be a $200 increase, but then after that, it would be $300 moving forward. Is that fair, Nick?
That's correct, bro. There was, I think Patrick sent the updated note in there as well.
Yeah, and so to the board members, I apologize. That was me not having my notes and just kind of putting it off of my memory. So he was able to provide the corrections. I do think there's probably going to be a evolution of the boat storage, because I think right now we're gonna take some preliminary guidelines, run it through the summer, see how it goes. But at least we started someplace. I was very clear with Nick. I really want to make sure by the end of the summer, we can clean the entire boat storage out, have an intelligent way, and then immediately once we have clearage and it's been cleaned, have folks get back in there on a first come, first served basis. Other than that, I didn't have... Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go through the bullets.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I cut you off, Earl, but I think we were headed in the same place. Sorry about that. Why don't we take these proposals one by one? So first is the boat storage area gate installation proposal, and this goes along with what Earl was just talking about. The wider plan to effectively gain real control of that area, get it cleaned out once and for all, and set some parameters around how that can be used for storage for EGPOA members going forward. We're just talking about the boat storage area. This has nothing to do with the composting piece, if I understand it correctly. So one item to get us rolling on that is installation of a gate, much like you would have to get into the entertainment area. Nick, do you want to present that?
Yes, so we went out to Ketchum Fence, who is our provider for gates and fences pretty much everywhere on site. They gave us a proposal for 2 options. We do not need the higher level option, although we could certainly spend the extra $2,000 and have the better unit, so to speak, which would mirror the gate that we have in the front, and the back. And then that way it's, you know, kind of one and done. This will integrate, it'll have a camera, system, hook up there so we can connect the camera to it. It'll be electronically operated, key access, programmed. Individuals will have to sign a waiver form, they'll register, just like they do for, access to the boat launch. This would be our recommendation. The question I know is gonna come up is where are we gonna fund this from? And I think part two of this is the approval of the fees for the storage area. So this is really a question for Joel. Joel, we're gonna have approximately $10,000 in fees coming in from the storage, and we're going to spend about $11,000 here on a gate. How would you wanna book this out and take the receivable in, because this is unanticipated income and an unanticipated expense, and I think they're almost gonna wash each other out.
I think they're gonna wash, you said they're gonna wash out within a year. So
Right, so,
it's fine, it's fine. We can put it out of the capital and just repay that.
okay, I mean, I wanted to talk to Joel about it, really haven't had a chance to yet, so.
I'm not seeing information here from the notes on the oversight committee, which is part of it, but I don't see anything on the notes for a fee for the boat storage.
So let me touch on that real quick. So information Earl sent out initially was not totally accurate to what we discussed. As Earl said, he kind of sent it out. He had some other notes to add into it. So what we discussed from the oversight committee was there would be a $200 fee for people to store equipment up there on an annual basis. Larger storage would be considered double, like a double lot. So that would look more like $400 on an annual basis for I think we settled on like 3 axles or whatever that might look like. So, my math is actually at the entry point would be $12,000 worth of revenue on an annual basis, because I think we settled on 74 spaces. And if we rent 60 of them, we're at $12,000. So, at the single trailer rate. So we would probably more than cover it, and then rolling over, that would cover the expense of whatever's incurred to maintain the property going forward. That is kind of why you maybe do this now, and then it covers the composting at a later point. Because running the Mahindra or whatever machine we run over there now, the pay and.
You know, eventually we're gonna have to bring some stone in there from time to time if there's, you know, holes and ruts and there's gonna be maintenance of that area.
And there's language that we put in there very specific to hazardous waste. There's concerns that people have with fuel and stuff like that. And, you know, we're not asking people to open your trailer and let us look in there. But if it's determined that your equipment is leaking waste, whether it be fuel or oil, it would be towed off-site at the expense of the homeowner. And we would have to to make that happen, we would have to put posted towing signs in that lot.
How would this affect access? Is
Earl, is that accurate to what we discussed?
Yes, it is. And I think right now, I know there's some massaging on what discretion the management office can and can't have. I think that's going to be something that's fair that we'll have to debate, but we have to give the office at least some minimal discretion, that if they see something awry, that we have the ability with a very clear protocol to address that in short order, especially if it's something that increases or introduces contaminants to the area. And we need the office to have that discretion.
How does this affect residents seeking to use that space for yard waste to compost?
So we're gonna establish a new area for folks to bring the stuff to dump. And then we will dispose of it in the back and have a place. So you won't have access to bring it in there, but we'll have a staging area for which you can dump it here, and then we will take it into the back.
Can you repeat that again?
So I'm sorry, Federal.
I want to jump in on that. So one, I'm 1,000% appreciative, Chris, of your concern. It mirrors the concerns of several other community members. Hey, they want that area clean, but we also want the ability to dispose of what can be disposed, and that doesn't introduce any, safety concerns. And so because we have some additional equipment that's being procured as we speak, the management office kind of said, here, we hear you, let us participate in that process, and we'll find another location, still centralized, where all the residents can without any inconvenience to them, dispose their leaves, anything that's coming as a natural as a result of doing landscaping. And we will jump in to support that, but also ensure that we keep that area as clean and as clear as possible to maximize on the ability to, to store boats and equipment and things of that nature. So Chris, I didn't forget about you. Actually, Nick stepped up to the plate on behalf of his team, saying, here, I'll go one step further. Let us maximize the equipment that we're having, and we will assist in that, discarding of that material.
So you'll be putting compost outside of the gate and then you'll be moving it in there?
Correct.
Or how about usually that happens in the fall, we have security there, so why can't we give the security guard a card, what we do now?
Because we're gonna take a look at the compost that's going in there and how it goes in there, because we've had a whole variety of things that have gone in there. When I was in there the other day, there's shingle material in there that someone threw in with their compost. So if we have it in a location in which we can have it under camera, we can know what's being thrown away and when it's being thrown away and who it's being thrown away by. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna establish a compost area for which you would come in. You can dump your grass, your leaves, your clippings, your short sticks, because we also don't want big trees and limbs coming in. They're gonna have to be of a certain size. Put them in that area, and then we'll take and dispose of them. If it becomes a time of year where it's fall cleanup and everybody's got leaves, then there may be some open days where it's, you bring them in for a week at a time or certain periods of time. But as a start, that's how we're gonna handle it. Sorry, Chris, you have something else?
Okay. I don't think Chris is sharing a concern. I think he's asking for clarifying questions on what the policy is going to be. So it sounds like what we're trying to establish is a satellite location for the materials to get wasted. At that point in time, the machine is going to transport it back to the same location, but it's going to be disposed of in a way that doesn't create hazards or other issues. So trying to kill two birds with one stone.
Dan, I don't know if it's going to go to the same location. I think the thought is, my ask to Nick was, let's look for an alternative location, and so they can be separate and apart, but not have any encumbrant, like weight on the homeowner. But I think that's still to be determined. I had this conversation with Nick 2 or 3 days ago, so I think we're still trying to find that consistent location that they can take the debris.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think we all got it.
Just trying to simplify it.
Yeah, I think we all got it.
Do we have concrete barriers right now? I believe. Nick, do we still have concrete barriers behind that shed? So probably the best case solution would be to use those barriers as a, like a barricade around, and then that'll give homeowners the ability to dump into there so the machine can make the scoops it needs to pick it up. So wouldn't cost anything.
I have a question about the new storage area and then the yearly space. So then is it effectively like, or not, obviously people who have boats too, is it essentially like a force fee because we don't allow people to put their boats in their driveways? So we're kind of forcing that if they want to store their boat here, they have to pay a fee?
Well, it is and it isn't, and here's the reasoning, and we talked about this in the committee pretty.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at the committee meeting, I'm
Yeah, no,
sorry, I missed it.
And Joel even raised some really good points about this. There's a lot of places where you cannot fit your boat even if you have a home, right? And you pay a marina.
I'm not disagreeing.
Lots of money.
I don't even have a boat,
Yeah,
so honestly, I really don't, it doesn't affect me in any way, but I just wanna make sure for the other homeowners that are here that this is not gonna cause some issue and that they're gonna be happy with it.
Of the folks that participated in the discussion who are boaters or trailer storage people, some did raise some objection, but also understood the perspective of it. And a lot of the boaters didn't have an issue with it. They understood the need, the necessity, because they are spending, if they're not storing them here, they're storing them in marinas, and they're spending in some cases $1,000+ to store it over the period of just the winters.
So the very specific point to that is, if it costs the association money to do it, i.e. the gate, there has to be some sort of recouping of that cost, because you can't just ask all homeowners to absorb the cost, $11,000, $12,000, what it is. It should go to those who are using that ground, similar to what we are for the docks right now. The people that rent the docks are the ones paying for the docks. So I guess I was an advocate, or I'll tell you, I've been saying for years now of not charging anything. I think it's not grandfathered in, and yada, yada. I'm now seeing the other side, where the association would have to bear the cost, plus the cost of the composting and all of that. So the association has to recoup.
Additionally, Beverly, here's the other concern. At some point, if all of our homeowners continue to have boats and trailers, we're going to run out of storage space. And then it won't be a as of right anymore.
But I think we were also waiting on Patrick's definition, if there was an insurance or a change, because we were receiving revenue, if that would change our obligations on the liability.
Beverly, I want to jump in. I think you're spot on, and Dan is 1,000% right. I mean, we've wrestled, he and I, even outside of the call we just had, because I'm not a boat owner. I want to be sensitive to the fact that this is almost a default right now, and so shifting is going to be a little more comfortable for folks. But I think we tried to identify the path of least resistance, and we wanted to make sure it made sense, especially considering that we have a limited amount of space.
I just wanted to make sure other people don't.
Yeah, U2 wrestling would be an interesting matchup to watch. As Nick correctly pointed out, it's no different than, the clubhouse or the docks, for example. On the insurance question, which I think you were also going to ask, I'm sorry, I may have missed that one, but I'll visit with our brokers early this week. I can't imagine that's going to be a problem. That's part and parcel of what we do as management.
Maybe Earl, he was gonna follow up with you on that, after we had our meeting.
Okay.
Reason being is because it came up several times in years prior, that if you receive revenue, you're now incumbent on providing some sort of.
We'll do waivers and stuff.
So we just wanted to touch on that, and if it was approved, move forward.
Yeah, so I think I saw that.
Like the clubhouse, the docks, anywhere else, it's no different.
Just
Okay.
one quick
Yes,
question.
sure.
Just for the budgeting purposes, when would this fee go into effect?
So what we would probably plan to do is roll this out,
26.
the what?
Well, people are gonna start it once it's fall.
Yeah, it would probably be a September start.
So we can wash it in the budget
Yes,
this year?
it
Okay,
would be
that's
this,
good.
it would be this year.
Just check.
And that was what we had discussed with the folks on the call, would be this year.
Okay.
Okay, can we move this piece forward?
Somebody make a motion.
I'll motion to approve the adopted oversight committee recommendation for the boat storage area.
Which gate option? Just do them more accessible, because these gates have problems all the time, so don't shortcut yourself and then make a nightmare for you. So I think we spent the $2,000.
So you're motioning gate 2, Joel? or
And
motion gate
and if
2?
you're worried for what's going in there, you wanna have as much camera action and,
Okay.
And we don't necessarily have to put the gate in right now. We could probably wait until the funds start coming in if we wanted to, but it's fine.
Can I just say the thing? Can I just say the thing out loud? So Dan, I'll count you as a motion, I'll count you as a second, Joel. So motion to purchase and install a security gate from Ketchum for $11,180, and the implementation beginning this fall of a $200 annual fee for storage.
For single,
For single and then 400 for double.
for what would be considered.
which is, what's considered similar, let's say I have a 24-foot.
I think, let me jump in here on that. We can't answer that because we haven't cleared all the space out to actually know what the inventory of real estate is. So I think we owe you all a follow-up, but it's impossible to follow up until we're able to have a clear landscape of exactly what real estate.
On the dump.
Well, why don't we just vote for the gate?
Right.
I'm not gonna vote for the gate, I'm not gonna vote in favor of the gate.
Yeah.
You can vote on the gate, and then you can vote on the fees, and then we will determine the sizing of the spaces and let it, and report
You
out
could
how
just
many
say
spaces.
200 or 400, depending on the size of the
I'll say,
space.
we amend the motion, we just, it's for discussion, just a minimum $200 annual fee.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Cause
All
we're
right.
talking about 14-foot being.
Minimum
But no-
200 with
It'll cover it.
management discretion.
Okay.
Can I jump in, but
Um,
not, no higher than 400?
Yeah, well, it said up to 400, so yeah.
Keep it,
Okay.
yeah.
The $200 to $400 annual fee.
Correct, that's good.
Okay.
Just leave it at that.
All right, consensus. So with that, all in favor? Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that passes. All right, let's go on to the clubhouse proposal. Board members will remember, we talked about this at our last meeting. We went through the financials for this. But it was decided we should refer it back to the oversight committee just to make sure that those folks had input on it. They had input on it, passed it as drafted, as I understand. Nick, do you want to just summarize for us what this is and the funding source?
Absolutely. So this is the proposal, since we do not currently have furniture in the clubhouse. There was some furniture purchased. I don't see the chairs in here. There are some folding chairs that were purchased. They are up in the pool house, and there are some also over in the, I'll call it the mahjong room. And the white tables that are similar to that. There are about 8 of those white tables over here, and there are some up in the pool house. But there is no furniture in the clubhouse whatsoever. Individuals have to rent it from an outside vendor. Went through the committee to discuss increasing the rental fee going forward to purchase this furniture, so folks don't have to bring it in themselves. There are some bookings currently on the calendar. The folks can stay at their current booking price of $100 and utilize the outside vendor, or pay the delta of an additional $200 and use our furniture if they so choose. All bookings going forward will be increased to $300 and will have the full use of the furniture. The total purchase price of the furniture with tax is $3,297. The thought here again is, with the amount of events that we anticipate, including our own activities, this would be a wash for this year's budget from income and our own expenses. So that is the recommendation from management, to purchase tables and chairs for 100 to outfit the clubhouse.
I motion to approve the expenditure of $3,297 for new clubhouse furniture and to raise the clubhouse rental rate to $300 effective immediately for all new reservations.
I'll second.
You're gonna give all rectangle tables, any round tables in there or not?
Hey, can we vote on this? Can we have a motion, we have a second, let's vote.
We did, we have it all.
It doesn't look like a motion in a second. We can have discussion and debate.
Joel's asking.
I was asking just to clarify something, when you do that, I have no problem spending the money at all, I just wanna know. But it's compared to rectangle, I think people like round tables, but that's, you know,
In the past, that's all we had in there,
was round.
round tables, yes. So you have to just figure out how many people, what's the maximum capacity of people you can have there.
Let's see where the rectangle tables get us, and then if we have.
No, don't spend the money, we're just,
Okay,
don't spend the money, spend, maybe you half round and half rectangle, I don't know.
it doesn't work. If you're doing a wedding, or if you're doing a, usually it's a table of 10.
Can I just say, Joel, it's a fine question. This was debated at the last board meeting. It's been through a committee meeting. And now it's in front of the board for the second time. If you want to make a motion to amend, make a motion to amend, otherwise just vote against it.
I'm going to make a motion to amend to round tables compared to, I think it'll be better if you.
If you're gonna do that, then just give me a ceiling on the price in case it goes over $32.97. Let's call it
I would
$3,500.
say.
Does Joel have a second first?
Do I have a second on my rounds or no?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay.
I would even go give you 5.
No.
Wait, that's further amendment. Okay, so
Let's
any
establish,
other questions or,
let's establish a budgeted price then.
all right, so with that, I'm gonna vote first on the motion to amend, which is to pick round tables instead of rectangular tables?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Wait, sorry. Let's do a roll call. Let's do a roll call.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
This is
I-
getting serious.
Yes.
Can I just say as a point of order, this was just, and Joel, I don't mean to single you out for this, but like, this was distributed in advance. Like, we could have had questions on this before the meeting today. We could have considered this before the meeting and like, this is what we're doing and it's great, but didn't have to be this way. All right. Patrick,
No.
how do you vote?
No.
Alana,
Yes.
Earl,
No.
Joel,
Yes.
I vote yes. What? Not really.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
you guys can never do that.
I'm keeping track for you.
This is why I had you.
Alex?
Yes.
Good, there you go. Leslie?
Yes.
Hassan?
All right.
6-3.
Okay, now on the main motion with the round tables included, well,
I motion to amend the total purchase price to, no more than $4,000.
okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Second.
Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals, any abstentions? Hearing none. All right, that is passed now with the main motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed, any recusals, any abstentions? Hearing none. All right,
Can I say something before we move on?
sure.
Only if it's about
Okay.
the shape of the table.
Thank you. I remember I think it was last year, towards the end of the year, we were going back and forth of how many chairs do we have at the pool? Is there any way that before we open the pool and everything, we have an accurate account of how many good chairs we have?
There
You
is,
know-
and I'll refer you to the pool committee for that.
Okay, and when it comes to this rental equipment as well, or chairs and tables that we have, so we can have an accurate account of what we have.
Yeah,
She wants an inventory.
Yeah.
That's smart. We should
Yes.
have inventory on every.
We actually worked on that last week. We'll distribute that to everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Nick.
We'll get it out tomorrow to everyone.
okay.
Your guys are gonna break this stuff down and put it up and set it up with the people that rent it, do it, how does that work?
People that rent it will handle that.
Yeah, right, so everything will be stored, you don't have to set it up, which is fine,
Correct,
and break it down.
correct.
Perfect.
And for
Okay.
that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna keep.
I was gonna say for that, you ask for money up front in case
They don't.
you break something or you don't clean the
We do have-
place, or you know.
We do have that in the bylaws already for the
And we have
rent.
that, and we used to store, there's like a double wall back there.
Still there?
Still there.
If you remember, I asked for a waiver, an insurance waiver last month, so I'm moving it.
Okay, on to the Strategic Planning and Finance Committee. We held a meeting this past week. Talked about developing a master list of capital projects. That is gonna be worked on by Nick, Joel, Dan, and Alana. Question was raised about doing another community survey. We'll call back in June of 2023 with Alice Hope and I think Alana at the time. Or Brittany at least. The survey was sent out. We have the results of that. I'm sure somewhere we'll find that, but maybe a good idea to update that too. All part and parcel of doing a master list of capital projects, which has no dollar value assigned to it. Could even be as little as $1, whatever it is, as long as insofar as it's just not a regularly occurring maintenance type expense, something that would go in the operating budget, would be considered capital, then it'll go on that list. All right. Davies Dam repair. Tom and Nick are gonna work together on this one. We need to get back with the state DEC to check on getting permits renewed. And there's also a need to have a diver come in and do a valve repair. Again, Tom, Nick working on that. And then we talked about updates to the EGPOA building code. Again, this is a project I've talked about a number of times in the past. We've just never been able to get the time to get this off the ground, but with Nick's expertise as a certified code enforcement officer in the state of New York, and his management expertise, it'll be a really great time to utilize that, leverage it, and we called on folks in the community, and we'll do so again now. If you're a landscape architect, a builder, or just somebody who's generally interested in this, reach out to Nick or me and join this subcommittee, if you will, on revising our nearly 20-year-old building code. It's just time to give it a fresh update. And by the way, we're going to review it with code inspectors, building department for the town, so that we're congruent with what's going on there. Okay. All right.
Take a breath.
So one last item is the rental rules revisions. I summarized those in our discussion with Rich earlier, deleting a couple of paragraphs to allow for rentals to continue on beyond 18 months. The thinking is, hey, if you have a good renter in there, there's no reason to kick people out. People set up roots in the community. If they're a renter, that's great. If they're good, keep them. No reason to have people vacate the community after 18 months when they're being good neighbors. We talked about the general philosophy, which I'm sure may come up again now, about what kind of community do we want to look like, a community of renters or a community of homeowners, and we had that discussion. There's a couple other clarifying points in the rental rules that we were just cleaning up. Again, raising the daily fine amount from $75 to $250 to get with the times. Also adding the word daily when we're talking about prohibition on short-term rentals, so we cover Airbnbs, frankly. Even though Airbnbs, to be clear, are and always have been not allowed in EGPOA. Nick was also going to take a look at clarifying what renters use pass is, and we agreed to raise that from $750 annually to $1,000 annually. That is the proposal that you'll see before you folks.
They also wanted to add that the renters don't have the ability to bring guests.
Right, that would go along with the clarification of renters use pass in paragraph 17. Thank you, Joel. That would also mean that no guests are permitted under the renters use pass, because then that obviously creates more derivative use on our facilities. If everyone in the renter's house can then bring, 3 guests or whatever to be entertaining, then we're really starting to max things out. Okay. That's tab 10 of your board books, board members. Anybody have any questions, or can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as discussed.
Second? I'll second. There's seconds. Okay. Anybody have any questions on it?
Yes, did we take into consideration the amount of houses that we have here with 2 apartments within the house?
With that, what do you mean?
Like mother-daughter.
Yeah.
I don't think we have many, if any, of those.
Oh, we
Certainly
have a
the,
few.
Yeah.
the,
Oh, we have,
the not,
I lived in one for 2 years.
yeah, so,
I'm getting street.
so these are single, I think the deed restrictions, with maybe just a couple of exceptions that were grandfathered in. The deed restrictions require that they be single family homes. So if they're, if you have a mother-in-law suite, I think that's probably a little bit different, but if you're renting it out, that is a legal rental anyway. So, we're not touching that stays.
You got one up the street from here?
No, but.
Okay, well, if you have those situations, make sure to report them to Nick and we'll violate those people.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's not approved.
But
Who seconded?
I did.
Chris,
Oh, thank you.
okay, Chris has requested a roll call vote. Yes. Alana,
No.
Earl,
Yes.
No.
I vote yes.
You can also abstain if you don't feel comfortable.
I'm gonna abstain, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah,
Yes.
Alex.
I'm gonna abstain. I'm not quite sure.
Leslie? Sorry.
Abstain.
Okay, it fails. All right. So the rentals will stay as is.
Yes,
Follow.
you can bring it up
Okay.
again. You can go back to committee to bring it up. And give Rich a week's notice.
Just for clarification, the reason why I voted no is because I like that 18-month rule.
So I didn't
So we're in
abstain because
favor
of
of
the
kicking people
18,
out?
I didn't abstain because of the
We're
18.
not a
Guys, Beverly's got the floor. Guys, Beverly's got the floor.
I only abstain because I don't like the fact that if somebody's a long-term renter and they're in the home, I don't agree that they should have any different privileges for guests than the people who own the home. That, to me, that's not okay to two people. So that's the only reason I.
Could have amended it.
I think the discussion there, in the committee, just to clarify, the discussion there, is centered in particular on the volume of use of our facilities. We already have some pressure on even our new facilities, in terms of volume, and that, extending that could create more users. And I think the other piece that we were talking about was trying to reach a compromise with some of the folks who ended up voting no, which was that, essentially imposing a fee on guests would raise the barrier for potential rentals in the community. In other words, that would effectively act to discourage rentals. And so to kind of try and balance out a more permissive rental policy by also having a higher fee for actually using the amenities, which do cost the members in their dues to maintain.
I mean, I would change my vote to a yes then.
You
I
can
don't know
always
if it makes a
reintroduce the
difference.
motion since you abstained.
No, so if they can bring a guest if they pay a fee for the guest, or they can't bring any guest no matter what.
They wouldn't be able to bring a guest under the current proposal, but you could reintroduce the.
Yeah, I mean, I really think
Would they
that's.
have the home?
So
May I-
it works right now, so the
May I
homeowner.
explain?
No, Rich.
The homeowner still can.
I got it,
Right,
yeah.
and then
All right, then that makes sense. No,
Yeah.
so you could change my vote to yes, because if the homeowner still has access and can bring the guests, then it makes sense that you wouldn't want to overtax the system with the renter. If you
So-
took the right away from the homeowner who's
yes or
renting the
no?
home, then.
Okay, so with
She-
that, does
I'm
that change?
changing mine from an
gotta
abstain to a yes. No change in the motion. I just want to change my vote
Okay,
to a yes. That's it.
so
I don't think it makes a difference, but.
that's fine. Does it actually change the map?
2,
No.
3,
No.
5 yeses. We have 9 present today. So it carries.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. Well, so
Whoa.
then, sorry.
You can check my math. We have Patrick is yes, Earl was yes, I was yes, Beverly is now yes, and Dan voted yes. That's 5. Alana voted no, Joel voted no, Alex abstained, and Leslie abstained. That's 4. The motion passes by a majority of 5 to
Okay,
4.
so you got your
Both
vote.
members.
You got your pass.
Thank you.
Okay,
Guess I should have attended that meeting.
I think the biggest concern for me was telling people you're no longer welcome to stay after 18 months.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're good.
So I
We're
think
good.
it's important.
okay.
Okay.
That
All
was
right,
my
move
mistake.
on. Move on to the, what, Leslie? No, okay, we're good.
No, I was
Moving
saying
on.
that the only thing that I was agreeing with was that the 2-year, language there, that was kind of stupid.
That's what got me.
That's what kind of move.
Okay. Moving on, that's in welcoming. Yes, sorry, Lynn.
Yes. For those people that attended the committee meeting on April 30th, we had about 10 members there. We were scheduled to do a cleanup this past Saturday, but Nick let us know in advance of touching base with him that Chet's Memorial was. So we will find another date in June to reschedule that event. Thank you to Carla and Sharon who have run their Mahjong class for the 3rd year in a row. We are adding to Emerald Green's Mahjong crew over here because of them, so thank you. Upcoming events, we have very busy May and June and July coming up. S'mores, our annual s'mores bonfire will be this coming Sunday, May 25th. We will email the entire community regarding all of these things. Again, that's at 7 p.m. Trivia nights will start again. Peter Nastasi has agreed to run those twice a month. They will start June 16th and the 30th, and then you could look forward to them on Mondays, twice a month after that. Poolside entertainment, the weekend of the pool opening. Albie Baluli will be performing from 1 to 3 o'clock on Sunday, June 15th, which is also Father's Day. Saturday, July 5th will be the fireworks at sundown. Beverly has been working tirelessly to do a Touch a Truck event for children in the community, which is scheduled for Saturday, July 12th
Yeah,
at
they're-
11 o'clock.
Yeah, they're willing to commit for like a 3-hour window, so it's gonna be like 11 to 2.
Yep.
And then just know that obviously, God forbid, there's a call or something happens, this is our whole community resources, it's the Rock Hill Fire Department I have committed and the Sheriff's Department I have committed. So I'm hoping that they'll bring like their SWAT SWAT truck for the kids and a fire truck, and I'm gonna try to reach out for
Serious?
an ambulance. And, so I have to still get in touch with Rock Hill, and then somebody from military I have a contact too, so I'm gonna see if we can get a military vehicle,
And we
but I'm
need
not
to-
sure.
Where are we gonna do it?
We still have to touch base with Nick to talk about, but we're thinking that parking lot up there, but we haven't finalized, that's just, we have to.
You won't have the space at the pool, obviously.
No,
No.
no, we're talking.
Not
that's
on a
why
busy July weekend either.
We took
That
that
might be in
weekend
the
from
parking
the,
lot up here.
off the clubhouse too, so people are not, we blocked out those dates,
Cool.
so we don't have that interference.
At least we'll have round tables now.
Yes.
That's right.
And then the community-wide yard sale, we're looking at the weekend of July 19th. I know people have been asking about that. Chris and I have to touch base with local community musician has volunteered to run a learn how to play drum, like a drumming circle and bonfire out by the lake on Friday, July 25th at 7:30 p.m. We will be coordinating for that event. And then please be aware that the exercise classes do change as we get into season, so we will update the calendar and the offerings as the pool opens. And I think that's it for us right now, and we will continue to then flesh out August as well.
Yeah.
For the events committee, Earl and myself, we had some discussion about looking into, adding a community yard sale on site as well. Like perhaps some of the older tables and other items we have that we may set up on the hill, so maybe if homeowners wanna do a yard sale, but they don't wanna open their home up or whatever, we would adopt a space, so something that we talked about during the oversight committee, so we can.
Yep.
So you'll both be volunteering.
I think it's a good idea because people live on the outskirts and they feel like they never get touched for the yard sales, even though we send out the map. So I will coordinate that with the logistics. We'll try it out for a year. And
Yeah,
then
we
we'll
thought
see how
maybe
it works.
it'll create more excitement, people meet their neighbors and so who cares?
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you do it, let's say, up here?
We'd have to, yeah, well, the problem is the gates,
Oh, true.
because you have a lot of outside people coming in, so I will
We have to have
logistically
them
kind of,
open. for
yeah,
that.
so we'll talk about logistics of that, but I will definitely.
Good idea,
get that
thanks
in.
for leading.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
we did
a
have one
lot
other
of,
question.
a lot of the goal when Dan and I was talking about this, there were some people still on the call, but it was really more of an opportunity to celebrate in the community. I think 4th of July, we do something on or around the 4th of July, but people leave. And this may just be an Emerald Green celebration. I also think there's still a large contingent of folks who don't know Nick. So it'd be an opportunity to, have Nick be around. Maybe we come back to you all, see if there's a little budget in there for something for the kids, a bounce house. And I don't know, we're just trying to do something that's a broader partnership from a community perspective. That was all.
I don't know if the yard sale weekend is the best, because homeowners who are tending to their stuff do not, they
No.
get very frustrated with having events at
That's
the same
what,
time.
that's why we talked about it, it may have to be a different weekend.
We had already previously spoken offline about, we want, the staff, Nick's coming out party, all that kind of stuff.
What Earl's talking about.
Whoa! Am I hearing the wrong thing?
2025, hey.
It's an opportunity for people to.
Yeah, a community day, we got you.
All right, anything else for Alana? Okay, with that,
Just one quick thing for the board I forgot to mention. There was a request because of the fact that the water aerobics happens on Sundays during the board meetings. There was an ask as to whether or not we would consider changing the board meetings because of that. And I said, I don't think so, but I just wanted to bring that
So I
up.
was looking for a TV screen, like a large.
yeah,
There you go. It's a great idea.
Alex,
due respect to the water aerobics folks, but you're not working around
This
here.
guy, bring all things to the board. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Thanks.
Put the TV live in there. and go
Live, we'll live stream it at the pool.
Okay, our next regular meeting is June 22nd, Sunday, June 22nd, 9 a.m. Whether it conflicts with water aerobics or not, here on Zoom. So with that, I want to thank our members online and who are in the room, and ask the board members to hang on for our executive session.
Motion to move to executive?
Sure, seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Any recusals, any abstentions? All right, let's go. So if you're online, just mechanically, if you can log off, We'll give you a minute to do that, otherwise we will respectfully pitch you out without a report.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks, folks. Here.
Are we excused now?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you, members.
Private meeting, I didn't want to. Should have percent, but to limit it.
Yeah.
You could not, yeah, the knowing me.
I've seen